Let's try making some dollar store pot holders with this Cricut Infusible ink. These are 100% polyester from the Dollar Tree, and that means that you can do sublimation, infusible ink, and all of those fun little crafts on this. The only concern is that the colors I have are a little bit darker, so if you're able to find some type of white or really light color, that would be ideal, but let's try it out and see what happens. First things first, you want to cut off all the tags to make sure that it is not melted by the heat press. So go ahead and remove all of those little tags and cardboard, and we're ready to start with our blank. Next, create your project on Cricut Design Space. I got this cut file off of Creative Fabrica, and I will leave it linked down below as always. Make sure you size your blank to know exactly how large you can cut your decal. Once it's sized to where you want it, go ahead and select Make It. Make sure to mirror image. This step is really important. And when it comes out, no matter what color you get, it looks very dull at first. It's supposed to look that way. It's similar to sublimation where it does come out looking dull at first, but once you transfer it is when it really changes. So there are two rolls in here. I'm going to move that one aside, and we're going to go ahead and stick it down. So with this infusible ink, remember we mirrored our image. So when we stick it down, the shiny kind of plasticky feeling side is going to go against our mat, and the part that is the print we're looking to have on our actual project is going to be facing up. So these sheets are 12 by 12. This is what it looks like, that browny kind of dull color. It's supposed to look like this. It comes out black after the fact. And then also in there comes a little cloth to wipe off whatever you're making. So if you're doing it on like a mug or something, this is perfect to clean off any dust. And then it comes with some butcher paper or parchment paper kind of to go ahead and protect it, because the ink from the infusible ink, similar to sublimation, does leak through and it will damage your press or whatever you're using and add ink to it. So you don't want that. We're going to go ahead and load this like any other Cricut project. It's just going to go on our mat. We're going to load it up. Now for materials, head on over to Browse All Materials, and you can actually just look up infusible ink. Perfect. This is the one we're going to be using, and I'm going to select Done, confirming that my mirror is on, and that's good. That's what we want, and we're ready to go ahead and cut it out. It's time to unload our mat. Now remember, infusible ink is thicker than vinyl, so it does come out looking a little bit like paper. It's kind of similar to like a very light cardstock feel, and it is a little bit trickier to weed, so we're going to go ahead and do that. Be careful, you want to try to touch it as little as possible with your fingers. So we're going to just cut around. I'm going to stick this part back on the mat. So the reason I stuck it down on the mat is because we want to make sure, like I said, we touch this as little as possible. And when you're weeding this, you need a lot of patience, okay? Because it's not easy. It really isn't easy, especially ones like this where it's a bunch of little pieces. I did do my best to utilize the contour feature on Cricut Design Space and remove any little unnecessary bits from this decal. So part of the barbecue and the beer mug just had a whole bunch of little bits that would be horrible to weed with infusible ink. Also, if it's a really thin font or design, your Cricut does not cut it very well. It just is not, it does not end up well. So highly recommend that you contour any bits that you may not need. Like I did, it just makes it a whole lot easier and it makes your project look nicer, honestly. So we have this, and I'm going to go ahead and weed this all out because it's gonna take me a bit, and then I'll be back. I finished weeding it out. This is the front side of it that will be against the press, and then this is the part that has the ink. Now it does come with the transfer sheet already on there, which is perfect. I am noticing that the eye shifted a little bit, so I'm going to push that back down. And I also have some heat tape, which will come in very handy. I am going to line it all up and tape it down first. I don't want it on the seam at all, or else it's not going to properly press. So we're going to put that there. This isn't just regular tape, it's specific heat tape. This one is the Cricut brand, but you can use any heat tape off of like Amazon and stuff. And it's really great because it doesn't melt. It's meant for these type of projects, sublimation, infusible ink. So it's really handy. The only thing is it doesn't stick that great to fabric. So I'm have to bear with me on this one. Beer with me. Okay. Now this one I am going to use my heat press for this because I want it to get a really even press. You could use like an iron, a Cricut Easy Press as well. Arguably you could use other heat sources, but for this you want a really even press for the full entire time so that it properly gets the ink transferred into whatever you're doing. And yes, I'm using a decent amount of heat tape because I want to make sure it's on there really well. So there we go, we have it on there. It's time to press it. So with Cricut Infusible ink, we're doing it at 385 degrees for 60 seconds. I am using the heat guide off of Cricut's website. So definitely do that, put in your material and all of that fun stuff. So I'm going to go ahead, I hope this doesn't melt it underneath, and we are just gonna go ahead and press this little baby. So go ahead, close it, and set the timer. We'll be back once it's done. Oh, oh God. Uh-oh. Looks like it melted. And I'm going to peel this up. You're supposed to wait until it cools down, but I'm a little nervous that it is all messed up. Wow, it looks really good actually. I think once it cools down, it will flatten a little bit, but it actually showed up very nicely. The reason I did infusible ink is because if you use heat transfer vinyl, it is going to make it trickier when you go to actually use a pot holder and it's activated by heat, right? So then it's gonna start peeling up way quicker. Infusible ink actually gets transferred inside the garment, so it's in there now. It's not going anywhere, which is great, but you have to press it for longer, and with this backing, it's a little tricky. So if you have one that's just a solid backing, that would be perfect. In this case, I did not have that. This one had like the rubber on the back, which is better for usage for sure. But if you're going to press this type, I would suggest using something that doesn't take as long to press, so it's just quicker. I'm going to see what happens when it cools down fully, if it goes back to normal. It didn't melt it though, so I will say that's pretty good, but I'm really impressed with the transfer of it. So that's super cute. I like how vibrant it is. It turned out really nicely. I'm excited about this little project, and I'm going to be adding this to the gift basket that we made in another Craftmas video. So if that one is already up, I'm going to link it right here for you as well. This is going to be going into that little basket with a few more goodies that we're going to make throughout the week. So definitely a fun one. It was a success, and I do think it would actually look good with this color as well. It would be a little bit more dull, but I like that it came out very vibrant on here. I'm a very big fan of this one, so definitely a win.